26, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here, covering the new Kubota LX series tractor. Today's video, we're going to show you the prior model, the B50 series, and show you what's new on the LX series machines. When you're looking at a tractor and you start with the model number, all the letters and digits in these model numbers generally are going to mean something. In this case, you're going to notice the B series is changing to the LX series, and that's actually a fairly big deal for a company to make these kinds of changes, because a lot of people start to understand what these things mean, and this kind of throws us through a loop. In the old B series machines, people were always a little confused by the fact that there were a small frame B series, today's 2301 and 2601, and the larger B series, the 2650 and the 3350. Those two series of machines sat on entirely different chassis, entirely different implements, and shared very little in common. Separating this off into the LX series now gives this tractor kind of its own identity. So this is the in-between the small B series tractors and the standard L series machines. The 33 or the 26 in the case of the other model is going to tell you the engine horsepower, and the last two digits here are basically a version identifier, in this case 10 series. Someday when this thing is replaced, you can expect to see that increment probably to 20. One of the most significant changes for us in the dealer body is that this tractor introduces a new engine. You notice the hood scoop here on the top. That's because we're over 26 horsepower and an emission system is required down here underneath the hood. This hood scoop lets some of that extra heat out. The prior model, B2650, at its first introduction had a pretty problematic emission system in it. It did not work properly at cold temperatures, which we here in Pennsylvania fought with quite a bit. Today, I actually own a B2650. Those problems were worked through eventually, but it did take quite a bit of time in order to get there. The LX, though, introduces a completely different engine. So that old B2650 engine and its unique emission system was great because it was small and compact and fit underneath the hood. The prior model before it, it got the job done, but there was some reliability issues there. So this is a complete upgrade to that. That engine is now gone. There's a new one down here underneath the hood now with a traditional DPF canister on it and a common rail fuel injection system, just like what's used on all of the other tractors. Those systems have proved to be very, very reliable. It's a lot more than what we could say about the old one. If you're a current owner of a B2650 or you're looking for one on the used market, there are basically no changes up here in the operator's platform. This machine is almost identical to the prior model with the exception of one new button. This button is a parked PTO operation button, so this will allow you to run the tractor's PTO while you're not sitting in the operator's seat. You push the button to enable it, and then it'll allow you to take the PTO gear and engage it. On the older tractors, that was done by flipping the seat forward. Flip it front, it hit a little safety switch on the bottom. That caused an issue because if you went and installed a single seat backhoe onto the tractor where the seat's going to swivel around, it then messes up that park PTO switch and you lose your ability in order to run a generator or a chipper. On these new models now, using that button, you now can install that backhoe and not cause yourself an issue with other implements. Now, while the tractor here has not changed very much at all from the prior model, there is a bunch of new additions here on the loader, and this echoes changes that we've seen in the BX and the small B series tractors already. If you watch this industry and these models, this is probably not going to be much of a surprise to you. This loader here is in its stock configuration. There's two accessory kits that can be installed onto this loader to enable some additional functionality. That would be Kubota's Swift Hatch system, which is going to give you a single lever in order to drop the hydraulic hoses off, and a latch in the back of the loader here that allows you to release it from the seat rather than having to pull this pin here out the side. That function is an optional feature. Now in the smaller machines, it's all standard equipment because it's pretty small hardware, small hydraulic manifolds. But when we move to a machine of this size with larger hoses and everything, you're talking about more equipment now, so it does become an optional kit to add on to this. Just like the small B series tractor, there's also a self-leveling kit now as well. So you can put a mechanical self-leveling linkage on here that as you take that bucket up and down, it will automatically roll the quick coupler. That's a nice feature to have for things like pallet forks, right? If you're gonna run a skid up and down, it keeps that skid level throughout the loader's travel up and down. Not something I tend to like for dirt work, but you might feel a little bit differently about that. So those are two big changes here. Coming over from the old model, a lot of the bits look the same. same, the boom looks identical, the skid steer couplers look the same. It's the major mechanical change is going to be this weldment back here on the back of the loader that supports all of those new features. This may look like a fairly small change at first glance, but you'll notice the grill guard on the old model versus the one on the new are different. The one on the new tractor now is tighter back to the machine and has a pin on the bottom to release to let it to fold forward when you're going to flip the hood. The one thing that I have a little bit of trouble on my B series tractor, on the older one here on the 50, is when you take the loader up and down, this loader passes really close to the grill guard. And so my third function hydraulics and stuff, I'm always a little cautious of, just because of the ability for something to catch on this guard. That's going to be an improvement here now on the new model, or if you just decide you want to add this grill guard to your 50 series tractor, having it tighter back against the hood gives you a little bit of additional clearance there as things go up and down. Last series change here is kind of a reintroduction of the SU series models. So when you're looking at this LX family of tractors, you have two different models at 26 or 33 horsepower available in three different variants, either open station or cab or SU. What SU stands for would be special utility. Anytime you see those characters used on a Kubota model, you know you're looking at a kind of a de-spec'd version of that tractor, kind of a price fighter type model. In this case, the SU versions of these tractors are going to lack things like armrests and a tilt steering wheel. They don't have mid-PTOs. And they get equipped with a larger set of tires than what their more deluxe versions do. And the reason you can do that is because when you remove the mid-mount mower from underneath the tractor, you don't need so much space down there, and the machine can accommodate a larger tire. So this one sits about an inch higher and 2 inches wider than the tires do on the other tractor. The one time that we really need to be mindful of using and pricing this tractor is specifically when we're up against Deere's 3E series, and not to dump competitively on other models. But this is a machine that we've tend to overlook in the past. When we go up against that kind of standard economy type tractor, we tend to go right to our standard L series tractor, which is way over-spec'd compared to a Deere 3E. They price very similarly, but the machine is much bigger, it's much more capable, it's got a 3-range transmission. It is not an equal, let's say that. Even though both Kubota and Deere will point to those tractors as being competitors to each other, the Kubota is much more physical machine. This is basically very similar to a Deere 3E. So it is a B series tractor with an oversized set of tires. It's going to spec much more closely. It's going to weigh much more the same. And more than likely, when you compare those brands, you're going to see Kubota coming out with a price advantage. So those are the handful of changes that happened in the LX series coming up from the B50. You can see this is more of an evolution of this tractor in most configurations, unless you're looking at that SU, which is kind of little new, or focusing in on the features on the loader. I wouldn't hesitate to buy a 50 series tractor. In fact, we stocked up on them when we saw this model coming out, knowing how minimal the changes were going to be and expecting to be able to offer a price advantage on the old model here for a little while. So Messick's is currently sitting on about a year's worth of inventory of the B50 series, but we're starting to have LXs arrive on the lot as well. And if you've been after the high horsepower version of this tractor, this 3310 with this new common rail diesel engine in it, I think you're going to find this one pretty appealing. So if you're going through the shopping process for a piece of equipment, if we have parts or service needs that we can help with, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.